Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. This is what it used to look like. I'm breaking out the archives. November, December 2014, Rockbridge Capital. It looks like I've got the whole team on there. And, there's John Cooper, one of my buds, motorcycle dude, on the cover. So they were looking all dapper there when we took that picture. Another great looking issue way back when. This one was 146 pages. And I always like showing where I was. So this is my picture in Philadelphia at one of our retreats right there on Broad Street, right in front of the City Hall there, with Benjamin Franklin sitting on top of the building. But I had a lot of hair more back then. Geez, a lot more than I have now. But much grayer, not as brown. But hey, I'm still standing, so that's a good thing. Anyway, I hope everybody had a great weekend. Myself, my brother-in-law passed away at 66. I just went over to Hilton Head, and it was one of the most beautiful ceremonies that I ever went through. Beautiful video, pictures everywhere. He was in facilities. His company was called Mr. Squeegee. He was on Hilton Head Island. He was an icon there. His father-in-law started the business, then he took it over, and now his son just took it. So it's now third generation, but was in residential, commercial window cleaning, got into some light commercial work, woodwork, etc. And but he was loved by the community, and it was so nice to see so many clients show up and show their respects. That it was just a really, really it was a celebration of life. And but 66 young, I just turned 60, so he's only a few years older than me, so it puts everything in perspective. We'll miss him, and I'll see him down the road. It doesn't have to be morbid when you pass. It was a celebration, and that's kind of what I had going on since last Friday. I came back this weekend, and now I'm starting the week off again. I'm in production mode for my magazine, and I am just slammed. I swear, I get up at the crack of dawn, and then by the time I get at the end of the day, it's time to catch a few Z's and keep a positive mindset, and then move on to the next day. That's all you can do. Live one day at a time, and just make the most of your life, because life is short. You just never know what's going to happen. So, and that's kind of where I was reflecting this weekend with my wife. Driving back on I-16 and between Savannah and Macon, then up to Atlanta. But all in all, that was good to see. My in-laws and nephews and nieces, and they're having babies and all that stuff. It was just real nice to see everybody, and so anyway. But hope everybody's having a great week. Today, once again, beautiful here in Atlanta. No humidity. It's probably going to be about 75 degrees, 80 degrees. And, the humidity's going. Indian summer. The trees are just starting to lose their leaves, and they're turning colors. If you've never been in the South during the fall, towards the end of October, before you get to Thanksgiving, all the trees are just all the colors. It is so beautiful. And there's a place called Helen, Georgia, where everybody drives up. It's really good. If you have a motorcycle, it's a great ride up there. But it's an old antique town, and all the mountains are up there as you get into North Georgia. I mean, it's just beautiful. So we're just kind of in that mode. And then, we get one good rainstorm with some wind, and then all the leaves go by Thanksgiving. And then I'm cleaning them up about it for a couple of weekends, throwing them in the refuse bags. And then, we're done. And then we go through winter for a couple of months, a couple of weeks of cold weather, and then boom, spring's here. So it's just like that. I can't believe I'm even talking about Thanksgiving. I just thought I just started 2023 off, yesterday. It just feels like time has just blew by this year. Really, really, really quick. So with that said, today I have someone from my hometown in Dayton, Ohio. Her name is April Frakes, and she's the director of commercial business for a company called Aeroseal. And they make, HVAC systems more efficient, et cetera. I'll let her tell her, her services and her products, et cetera. And, with the changing of the seasons from summer to fall to winter, you got to keep your HVAC units clean, between pollen, dirt, and the leaves falling and all that stuff. So I thought it was very timely to have April on to talk about Aeroseal and what they can offer. So, April, tell us about your, say hello to our listeners out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to be here, especially with someone else from Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah.
Really exciting. Not a lot of us from the Midwest that are still out there, so really good to be here.
So
I actually
I was
go
gonna say,
ahead.
where are you in Dayton? Are you in Dayton, the city of Dayton, or are you south, north? Where are you?
Yeah, we're south. We're in Miamisburg,
Miamisburg,
actually.
725.
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha. All right. So that's just
Yes,
south of
we
Dayton
are.
towards
We are.
Cincinnati on I-75, for those of you who don't know, going south. So um well,
Yeah.
the way that we're going to work our episode is we do your interview in three parts. You'll tell your story, where you grew up, married, kids, dogs, what have you, where you went to school, and then how you ended up at Aeroseal. And then we'll talk about the last 3 years of the roller coaster, lessons learned, and any new products that you have might coming out, et cetera. And then we'll finish off with one positive thought or phrase and your contact info, and then we'll close out the episode. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Perfect. So I grew up just south of Dayton in a little town called Middletown, Ohio, and I actually stayed local, went to school at Miami University, and
Go
originally was
Red Hawks.
educated. Yeah, that's
Right.
right. Originally went to school to be a teacher, so not what I'm doing now, but a really great background for me. But my family was in the construction business. So my dad is a heavy equipment operator. My grandpa poured foundations for basements and commercial buildings and things like that. So my entire life, I was always on job sites. I have some of my earliest pictures of me standing up in front of the bulldozer that my dad was operating and showing how I was as big as the tracks, right?
Right.
And actually, when I was in the summer of college, summers during college, I would work as a laborer on the job sites. So I was doing everything from checking grade to hammering in silt fences to sometimes I got to operate the rollers or the compactors. And every once in a while, I would move a bulldozer from one point to another, right? But you have to be more skilled than me to do a lot more than that, but I can,
There you
right? So if you
go.
ever
Way to
need anyone
go.
to operate a bulldozer, I'm your girl. But that was a great way to earn money during college, and honestly, it was awesome to learn about hard work, right? It was motivation to stay in school as well, and get on the other side of things. But I learned how to read blueprints. I learned how important it was to build strong foundations, right? On a excavating site, if you didn't get that pad completely plumb and level, then everything else after that would be off, right? You would have puddles when it rained and things, and so that was just really great life lessons to do things exact and work hard, and how important and what you do impacts other people, right? And so that was taught, I mean, from a very young age for me, just being around all my family. So after leaving Miami, I actually ended up working at a couple large corporations, F100 companies, and I ended up in the sales organizations. And so I sold, at the end, I was selling really large uniform contracts, mats, and facility services. And while it was really cool, I wasn't really making much of an impact, right? These companies were worth billions of dollars. And while I had these huge contracts that were multi-million, I didn't feel like I was really impacting things one way or another. And so I found an opportunity at Aeroseal. They were looking for an engineer. I wasn't that. They were looking for someone that had most recently worked in the construction industry. And I hadn't done that since college, right? And what I did have was excavating and things.
Right.
But somehow I got an interview and I came in and I worked and I met with the founder and our VP of commercial. And I had meetings with both of them. And what I was immediately struck by was the passion they had for our technology. We have something that makes existing buildings better. And there's not a lot of people that are doing things to make existing buildings better, right? Once they're done, you kind of walk away, and there's a lot of technology around new construction and net zero and renewable energy services, but there's not a lot about, how you make an existing structure operate as designed, how you make it more energy efficient. And so that's what drew me to Aeroseal from the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you study when you were at Miami of Ohio?
Yeah, I trained to be an elementary school teacher.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think that ties into my role really well, though, believe it or not, because all I do every day is I educate people on why you care about ductwork, why you care about building envelope, and why those things matter in the whole world of building science, right? So all those things I learned about how to educate people, I do every day. People don't understand that if your ducts are leaky, that not only causes you to lose excess energy and your fans have to work harder, but it also causes you to have things like mold in your bathrooms and, when your doors are sticking and all this other stuff that happens. And especially, what's been happening the past couple of years when everybody's worried about air quality in commercial buildings. If your ducts are leaking and you're trying to bring in fresh air, that fresh air is not making it into the space, right? And so
Right.
I get to learn and then educate others on how important it is to make sure that your ducts are sealed properly and operating how they're originally designed. And then also on the building envelope side, why it's important to have a strong building envelope that is protecting and really that barrier from the outside.
Family wise, you and I have a lot in common because on my mom's side, we've been in construction, demolition, etc., steel recycling since 1888. And I was named after my great grandfather, David Pollock. And when we all turned 16, we grew up outside of Philadelphia, about 15 minutes west of Valley Forge, in a place called Pottstown. Anyway, when you turned 16, got your license, you had to go work in the scrapyard. So I shoveled asbestos, I laid railroad tracks, I welded, I did everything, and, every summer we had, all the grandsons, you all had to go in there. And my Uncle Frank was the super, and he scared the heck out of me. May he rest in peace. But he was a brute, man. But he taught me a lot of stuff, and so I look at, even though he was a scary dude, he meant well. And and look, I'm a builder right now. I just build a magazine. I don't use steel. I use paper, ink. Now I'm digital. I do use technology, but I built this. And every month I build another one. I'm like, yeah, I built that. So everything that I've kind of learned along the way, I've took bits and pieces of things that I did, and just like yourself, didn't you have that, but I was with a food company, and then I came down to Atlanta, and I was just bored, and I saw an ad sales job. I didn't have any advertising, but I had sales experience, and they hired me. But it was a stroke of luck. They had a furniture magazine, and they had 10 magazines and 8 trade shows, and they met me. They had a furniture magazine, and on my father's side, he was in upholstery furniture, so they used to run ads in the magazine. So they met me when I was like 3 years old. Small world. And so we'll bring this guy in. So I got thrown on an auto magazine. I didn't even know what a headliner was or a seat, just like you. You didn't have any HVAC. And same thing, I learned and this and that. And then 9/11 came, and they whacked. I was with Nielsen. They bought our company. That honeymoon lasted 18 months. And then they sold off about 40 or 50 magazines out of the portfolio. My little construction book got the axe. And the same year my magazine, I launched it, my son was born. And they were like, I consider them both my childs. And someone had to stick up for the magazine child. And I offered to buy it. They thought I was bluffing. And I resigned December 17th, 2001, and I haven't looked back since. It's been a roller coaster since of being an entrepreneur, but I'm still standing today, and wouldn't do it anything different. And it's been an amazing ride. But I look back at all the things that I did. I mean, I did my retail training at Levitt's after I got out of school at University of Denver, and I had unloaded trucks. I scotch guarded sofas. I
Mhm.
was a picker. I built those little brass sofa tables that were lost leaders way back in the back of the showroom, and I did all that stuff. And so I look at all the things that I did. I've kind of taken bits and pieces and molded myself into, who I am today as a publisher editor. But look, I do everything. I fix the Xerox machine. I take the trash out. I do everything. I've got a team, but I mean, technically, I've learned everything from the bottom up. And now my
Yeah,
cousins we were all born, two of my cousins were all born in June. So they're running the company right now, the Maripollock Steel, they're running it. So, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, so I
It's
totally get the family thing, and grow
yeah,
it's awesome.
yeah. I think it really drew me to Aeroseal because I knew that I could make a difference. I was employee number 38 at Aeroseal. Our commercial division had 3 people working. And now at Aeroseal, we have over 200 people. And I know because of the contracts and the education that I'm bringing to the industry, people have jobs because of me, right? And coming from a family of construction workers, I know that if there's not somebody selling those jobs, then you're laid off, right? And you don't have, and that was our life. If there wasn't a job, then you had to deal with that and the impact that had on our family. And I take that very personally, and make sure that all those guys that are out there, they're busy working because of what I'm doing, right? And it's a passion for me. I really I believe in our technology, and I believe in what we're doing to make buildings better, but also I believe in making sure that those guys are getting paid every week, and that's an important part of it for sure. Yeah,
Hey, listen, we have a column, Women in Construction. We profile someone, a lady, a professional once a month, doesn't matter what part of construction
yeah,
they're in. And it's awesome to see women going in over the years, playing in a man's sandbox and, gaining respect. And I never understood why men were designing stores when most of the women are shopping in that, and
yeah,
they know how wide the aisles need to be. They know where the fixtures, they know, understand how the dressing rooms need to be done. And I'm just talking retail, but I'm just talking in general, you
yeah,
know, but someone said to me, why don't you put more women on your cover? So I looked at my circulation. I'm like, oh my God, half my
yeah,
circulation's female. I might as well put that column in there. I'm going to put more of them on. So I always try to have, when I do these podcasts, I always like to do them female man. And
yeah,
because it's basically a split right now, and eventually probably be more females than there are men in construction, and
yeah,
you guys could do some hard work. It gives me a good feeling when I see a 110-pound lady, throwing a big bag of concrete over her shoulder, taking it over to the elevator or something, or what
yeah.
it might be. I'm like, that person's on my team. I like that, man. In
Well,
the
it yeah, and it definitely gives me instant credibility with my team, right? I've been on these job sites. My dad, he only had daughters, so when we were going out on job sites and working for him in college, we had to be exactly like the men because we were his daughters, right? So we weren't getting special treatment. We had to do even harder work just to prove that we weren't getting special treatment and all the things. So my first week of the job here at Aeroseal, I was at a trade show. My second week, though, I was at a job site at a federal base in Mississippi, and I was above the ceiling and on a ladder, and that's what I knew, right? And so that helps me. I'll go on the job sites. I'll be on the roof. I'll do all the things, and not afraid at all. And that comes from the background I had, just being treated like everyone else, and it's wonderful to see more women in our space, and feeling more comfortable coming into our space. My daughter was a gymnast, and one of her little gymnast friends is going to school to be a heavy equipment operator now, just like my dad, so I hooked her up, and he's her mentor now. So it's really cool to see so many little girls going into the trades, and I love that.
Well, good for you. Great story. Awesome. Um, let's transition into the last 3 years of the roller coaster that we've all been in.
Yeah,
Now we're kind of out of it, but we're still talking about it, and there's little bumps and potholes
yeah,
in there that we're all going through. Talk about how your company weathered the storm and maybe some lessons learned that our listeners out there in commercial construction coffee talk might find of interest.
I think, just like I said before, having that strong foundation was really key for us surviving through those tougher years, when things were kind of put on hold. Also being willing, for us, we pivoted. We were focusing on energy and we were focusing on, which is an important part of our business. But we really looked at, okay, what other impacts do we have on buildings? Well, we make buildings, the indoor air quality better in buildings, right? And learning to talk about not just how cool our technology is, but actually why, what impact that has on the buildings and the projects. That was a really key learning for us during that time. So not talking about how cool it is that we pressurize duct and send in a sealant and it changes from an aerosol to a solid, right? Which is really cool physics, but nobody cares. Like, people want to know what that does to the building that you're in. Well, it makes the building have more fresh air. Well, it makes the heat that you're trying to get to the office at the end of the hallway that's always cold, it makes it actually have warmth, right? And so focusing on our efforts on those kind of things were really important. And then also being laser focused on key markets that, we really are impactful. So healthcare, we just sold our largest contract to a set of 29 hospitals, and understanding that, those are target markets for us. Doing well in places like universities where people care about fresh air and healthy buildings, those have been really important for us. So that's really what we're learning the most is focusing on where we have the greatest impact, and then also working in spaces and really marketing not just this really cool technology we have, but how it actually makes buildings better.
Awesome. The just tell our listeners kind of, you touched on a little bit. Tell them exactly what your product actually does. So when
So Aeroseal was developed about 25 years ago at the Lawrence Berkeley National Labs, and it's an aerosolized sealant that we send into the HVAC ductwork that seals up all the holes and gaps. So we pressurize it, and say we're doing that medium pressure duct from like the air handling unit to the VAV box. We send it in, it starts as a liquid, we add heat and hot water, and it becomes an aerosol, and it travels through the duct system. And when it feels that change of pressure from a hole or a gap, it starts to scab and solidify, and it fills up all those holes and gaps. So it doesn't line or coat the duct in any way. It only goes to where the holes are. So you can, when you plug up all the holes, you can imagine if it's an exhaust system, for example, like a leaky straw. If you're trying to suck air out of a leaky or suck out of a leaky straw, you're never going to get anything out. It's the same kind of scenario, right? Air doesn't flow when it's leaking, and so we help solve all of those problems.
Yeah, I'll tell you, making, HVAC systems, whether it's, it's shooting hot or cold air, it's definitely, you don't want to have leaks because you're just losing energy and you're paying for it and so forth. So, very cool technology. And I didn't know it was around that much, but my HVAC guy, I've had him known him for 20 years. And every time he comes over, I'm looking and I'm like, I know where the condenser is and the coils and, all that stuff and how it works. And, every time I see him, I'm like, hey man, what is that thing? How much does that thing cost? Or whatever. And HVAC really hasn't changed that much. The units themselves pretty much operate the same way. It's just making them more efficient. Cleaning, just taking out your filter every 3 months can help your unit run so much smoother and give it, longer lasting life, and it's just like anything else. If you maintain it correctly and keep it clean, and then obviously, plugging the holes up in your duct, that you're just gonna, your bill will go down, but your house will feel much more comfortable, or your facility.
Exactly. Yeah. There was a study done by the Building Commissioning Agency that said that $2.9 billion is lost every year just from duct leakage. And ASHRAE says that 75% of your ducts leak 10 to 25%. I mean, those are significant numbers that nobody really ever talks about because you can't solve it with traditional methods, right? Once your building is constructed, there's no good way to get to those ducts. There's no good way to figure out where it's leaking. And so we solve those problems.
Well, that's awesome. If anybody out there in commercial construction coffee talk land and you're looking to, find out, how you can make your HVAC systems, be more efficient. If you haven't had your ductworks, looked if you have any holes in there or what have you, here's a lady that can help you. She's an expert. So, are there any new products other than your plugs that you're doing for the HVAC units? Do you have anything coming down the pike that our listeners should know about?
We actually have developed Aeroseal envelope as well. So the really cool thing about Aeroseal envelope is we do this a lot in new construction or renovation projects, and we pressurize the entire building envelope and send around the sealant inside the space and plug up all the holes and gaps. And the really cool thing about that is if you're trying to meet a certain air changes per hour, immediately when you get there because we're doing a blower door test while we're sealing. So if you're trying to meet a certain code requirement or anything that you're doing for the building, we know immediately when the air changes per hour has been met. So we're really excited about that. A little bit different industry from existing buildings to new construction, but we're super excited about the impact that that's having, especially in the residential new construction space.
Once again, if your windows have a little hole in it or underneath your door, you've got, a draft coming in, all of that affects your energy bill and your HVAC, and your air conditioning, depending on what season that you're in. It's all going to affect how hard your unit's going to run, and that's going to determine how long it's going to last and what maintenance it's going to need on it. So having that, it's kind of like it's like Scotchgard on a sofa. That's the way I'm going to put it. You want to make sure it's covered because you don't know where the spill is ever going to happen. So you might as well plug up those holes while you can. If they're not in the ducts, if they're in the exterior of the building, you might as well get it done and have just that bubble around it. Am I right?
Exactly. And what I'm really excited about is, for a while, a lot of people were focusing on renewables and solar and, wind sources. But if your buildings aren't as efficient as they can, you're still, you need more solar panels, you need more wind. And I think the number one thing and what people are focusing on more, and I go to a lot of conferences and I heard the DOD say it just about a month ago, is don't come to me with a project unless you're making the structure better first, right? And I think that's something that was missed for a couple of years, but now we're starting to talk about it. It's really cool and kind of the new sexy thing to add renewables and solar. But if buildings aren't operating as efficiently as possible, then it's still wasting energy. So I'm really excited about that trend and the products that we have that help with that.
Yeah, I think keeping your HVAC units running more efficiently is sexy. Okay, so don't think it's not. It's sexy because you know what? When you get the bill and it's not what it was before, you're like, hey, it is cool. So nothing wrong with that. If someone wanted to reach out to you out there in commercial construction coffee talk land and talk HVAC efficiency or this new product for the exterior and so forth, how would they contact you?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, www.aeroseal.com, or you can email me directly, april.frakes, Frakes, @aeroseal.com, and I'm here to answer all your questions. And like I said, our website is a wealth of information, but again, just reach out to me directly and I'm here to help.
There you go. So listen, if you got any issues and you think you got leaks in your HVAC system, or you might even have them in the exterior building or what have you, call Miss Frakes up here. She just gave you, her email and how to contact her, and they can come out and probably, I'm sure that when you do that, you do an inspection and then you give them a report and say, hey, here's what you need to do to get it fixed, right? Correct?
That's right. Exactly.
Yep.
We come out, we do an inspection, we look at everything and give you all the information you need.
And listen, what you don't know can really hurt you. So you might as well, look, you go to the doctor if you don't feel good. If you don't think your HVAC unit's running well, call someone or call an expert, and probably some of these HVAC technicians probably don't even know that some of this stuff exists, believe it or not. So, they know the basics, but if you think you got something wrong, give her a call and see if she can help you. Well, this has been awesome. If as we finish up, if you wanted to leave one positive thought or phrase with our listeners out there, what would it be as we end? We're going into we're Q4 right now, finishing up the year, and before you know it, where the new year comes, what would you want to leave that comment with or quote for our listeners? What would it be?
Quote Miss Dolly Parton, who has all the wisdom, and say, storms make trees take deeper roots. And with the past couple of years that we've all had in the construction industry and all the things that we've had to weather, just remember we all have stronger roots now, and we're all ready to bloom.
That's awesome. I like the whole root thing, because when the wind comes, the trees go down. And I was just when we were driving over to Hilton Head for this weekend, there must have been some wicked storm, and all these trees were blowing down. You could see the roots, and these were big trees. They're probably going through hundreds and hundreds of thunderstorms, but they got blown over. And but if they had a little deeper roots, then the other trees obviously had deeper roots because they were right next to them and they weren't getting blown over. So I'm with Dolly Parton. Deep roots, don't get blown over. Keep standing.
That's
And
right.
I'm a digital guy, so I nurture my business page on social media every day. I put quotes up and so forth. But I just had what was it? Be a warrior, not a warrior. So
Love it.
listen, you can't worry about stuff you can't change, but you can change your HVAC and how it can be running efficiency. So be a warrior, pick up the phone, get an inspection done, and you'll find out where you're at. But worrying, it's not going to get anything done. It's called,
That's right.
CAT, call to action, you go DAZ, whatever, get it done. So if anybody wants to reach me, I'm at David C at ccr-mag.com. Listen, April's publicist sent me a press release, and we were talking. I'm like, yeah, let's get her on and we'll talk HVAC. So listen, send me stuff. We look at everything, and look, they just had the $1.4 billion lottery this weekend. Now, I didn't win it, but if you don't buy a ticket, you can't win it. So if you don't send me something, I can't look at it. And believe me, we look at everything. We post stuff every day. It's very tough getting in the magazine, but we look at, you can send me a press release on new personnel, new products, charity, anniversaries. We look at everything, and we have plenty of social media channels to put that stuff. I've got content coming at me in, but I'll come back to you. We'll post it. We'll send you the URL. You can share it. It's good for our SEO, which is search engine optimization, on the web. It helps your Google ranking and all that stuff. So, let me judge the book by its cover. Send it to me. We'll look at it, and, we'll share it, and it's a win-win for all. So, but before we finish up here, just a couple of things. Number one, hit that like button, because we want to get the algorithms up so we can, hear April and about Aeroseal and all the great things they're doing to keep your buildings, safer and healthier and cooler or heat, hotter, depending on what season that you're in. Number two, if you're on that construction site, we want you to be safe. Okay. Safety is the number one thing. So you can go home at night, see your kids or your spouse. We want you to be able to, have dinner, talk about your day, catch some Z's, and go do it another day, when the sun rises. So being safe is number one. Number two, even though the fall's coming in, it's getting a little cooler at night or whatever, look, it's still hot out there. So make sure you stay hydrated, drink and grab my bottle of water here. See, I'm drinking. I put my electrolytes in here, but they're going to go in here when I get done. Make sure you drink lots of water. Dehydration, it's the worst. It gives you headaches, and that's when accidents happen. I don't care if it's on the construction site or on the athletic field. Stay hydrated. It's one of the best things that you can do for your body. Keeps everything nice and liquid. And so stay safe. Drink lots of water, and once again, hit that like button so we can get those algorithms out. So, April, I look forward to meeting you one of these days when I come up to Dayton. You're right down the road from my mom in Springboro,
Right.
and
Yeah.
get a tour, of the the space, and see what's going on, and you know, it's what a great story. And tell your dad he did a really good job with you and your sisters. And I would have loved to seen him coming in with the crew with their helmets on way back when, you know. It had to
Yeah,
it had to be a great picture, you know, right?
yeah. I'll try to get it over to you so you can
Oh no,
plug it on there.
yeah, no, listen, I got my heart out sitting there from way back when, you know,
Yeah.
it's a really good story. So listen, everybody, it's October. You got Thanksgiving coming up, then you got you got Halloween first, then you got Thanksgiving, and then you got the Hanukkah, Christmas, Festivus, whatever, and then before you know it, boom, it's all going to be over, and we're going to close the year out in 2024. Is going to come. So, keep your mindset positive. Make sure you recharge your battery every day. Stay positive. Keep the momentum and finish off the year strong, and then going into the new year with more momentum. And listen, it's been a wild and crazy year. I'm mentally drained every day for everything that happens. I catch a couple Z's and I do it again. But I think just everything that I've learned this year, God, 2024 is going to be that much better. So I always look at the glass. Look, I'm just glad I can hold a glass, number one. But number two, I'm glad it's half full, not half empty. I'm glad it's partly sunny, not cloudy. So there's no negativity. Got negativity, get rid of it. It's not worth it. And some things you can't control anyway. So just go with the flow. Control what you can, and the rest of it, it's not worth worrying about. Remember, be a warrior, not a warrior. So, well, April, say goodbye from south of Dayton to our listeners
All
out.
right. Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody.
And I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, about 25 miles north of Atlanta, just below the Beaufort Dam on Lake Lanier. And we will see you all next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. April, pleasure. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. And I'll see you when I get up to Dayton. Go Flyers. And
Perfect.
go Red Hawks, too. All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. See you later. Ciao, everybody.